Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help mental health professionals grow their dream practices and live a life they love. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building tips. We invite you to take advantage of our private practice paperwork and our signature marketing e-course. And we have a gift for you. This is the exact methodology we use to create our six-figure private pay practices and have helped many other therapists do the same. Go to privatepracticestartup.com and on the homepage, click the button to download a free copy of your dream private practice playbook. Now on to today's episode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. I am here with my co-host, Dr. Kimberly Grosher today. She's one of our private practice coaches. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Katie. It's good. It's good to see. There's a lot of Kate and Katie going on. So
yes. Well, you gave a little teaser, Kim, because we have Katie Cranmer on with us today, one of your coachees and one of our e-course alumni. So, hi, Katie.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing great. Yes, welcome. So excited to have you both here. And today is going to be an episode focused on Katie's success story. Where are they now? So we'll be able to hear about Katie's journey into private practice and her struggles and how she overcame them, and also hear about some of the amazing work that she got to do with Dr. Kim Grosher. So before we dive into that, we want to make sure that you listen to last week's episode where we got to hear from Dr. Kim Grosher, Katie Lemieux, and Dr. Danielle Graddick. And we heard Danielle's success story. So you want to go back and listen to that. There's a lot of really great value-packed information in there. And I just want to take a moment to introduce you to Katie. Katie Cranmer is the founder of Full Bloom Counseling and Coaching Services. Katie has been practicing as a therapist in Missouri since 2009, and throughout her journey, she has learned what kind of therapy suits her best, as well as how to make her work as a therapist enrich her personal life outside of the office. In her spare time, she enjoys camping with her husband and 3 kids, as well as growing her hobby farm. Tell us about your hobby farm. That's a unique hobby.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And it's so funny because I really think in analogies, and I like to tell stories about the farm that relate to therapy. So often, like, a lot of my advice comes from weeding my garden or talking about, what does it mean to breed pigs? So we currently have, we love to grow our food and, meat and vegetables, but yeah, we have pigs, geese, chickens, turkeys, goats. Goat milk is amazing. It's one of my favorite things to talk about is goat milk, goat cheese. So
yum.
Yeah. And
I love goat cheese.
Yes. And 3 feral children. So that help us along the way.
Wow. You have your hands full.
Yeah, of good things, wonderful things. So yeah, they are full.
That's really cool. I actually grew up on a farm. I'm not sure many people realize that, but in North Carolina, we lived there for a while and we had horses and cats and dogs and all sorts of things. So yeah, it was a really enjoyable experience. A lot of work when you maintain a farm, that's for sure.
Oh yes. You don't get to just leave. So
yes, exactly. Well, before we dive in to hear Katie's story, let's take a quick break from our sponsor.
As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using Therapy Notes. They make billing, scheduling, note-taking, telehealth, and e-prescribing incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. Look, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR available today with 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot and Google. Go to therapynotes.com and enter code PPS as in Private Practice Startup and receive a special 2-month trial, absolutely free. And hey, if you're coming from another EHR, no worries. Therapy Notes will import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost to you so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time. Go to therapynotes.com and enter code PPS for your 2-month free trial.
Okay, so Katie, tell us where to start. Let's think back to your journey and tell us a little bit about how you got into private practice and into the field specifically.
Sure. So I started out as a school counselor, really loved it, but along the way, I learned I really wanted to do therapy. And so I decided to do private practice. So I tried private practice back in 2013, and I was raising kids, and I had two babies back to back, 13 months apart, and then another one 2 years later. So at one point I had three in diapers. And so I was struggling to make private practice work while I was trying to be a mom to three small kids. And so I had initially, it felt like it just wasn't working. And I think looking back, I didn't know who I needed to know, if that makes any sense. I didn't have my who's in place. I didn't have my key players. Like as I'll talk about in a minute, just the course that your guys' course, and Dr. Kim, I didn't have a lot of key people guiding me. So I decided to transition into community mental health. And during my time in community mental health, I gained lots of experience. I don't want to say that it was all horrible and that you can't affect change in community mental health. But it was very hard to have a work-life balance. Mm-hmm. And so I found myself asking, what is the real price that I'm paying to have this position? Mm-hmm. And so I through each of my journeys of school counseling, trying private practice in the evenings while I stayed home with my kids, and then through community mental health, each time I was in a season of a different setting, I asked myself, how is this suiting me? How is this serving me, as well as like my family and my friends and the people that I love and my joy? Like it was hard to maintain joy, just being so burnt out in the setting that I was in and not having much control over it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you were really sacrificing a lot, and that was something that wasn't sitting well for you.
Correct. And I remember sitting down thinking like, this actually could kill me. Just the stress, the high levels of stress, and not having any benefits to my personal life. I really had this image of sacrificing myself on the altar of being a therapist. That at one point, I found out I had an autoimmune disease that was just racking my body with pain. I had lost hair. It was hard to go home and then engage after seeing 8 clients 5 days a week. And that was just the client time, on the hour, every hour. And then that wasn't the note and documentation. That was very intense. And so it was, I could go on the meetings and I know it suits some people, but I had to be honest that this is not suiting me. And so I had to be honest, and it was like, okay, so I die early, maybe sooner than later, because my health is literally tanking, or I make some changes because this is costing me something. And I wasn't getting to do the thing that I'm most passionate about, which is connecting with people and helping them make changes and meet goals. And it just wasn't happening.
So things got really progressively worse. Your health was deteriorating. You were sacrificing so much in your personal life, your family life, your joy. And you had this epiphany that things need to change or this is not going to end well. And
correct.
Where did you go from there when you had that epiphany?
It's funny. When the pandemic happened in 2020, like everyone else, I was kind of trying to figure things out. I will never say the pandemic was a blessing, because it was so hard for all of us. I don't want to say so many. I think everyone was affected by the pandemic. But during lockdown, I would take walks on my land, which I hadn't been able to do. We have 16 acres, and it's got a beautiful 1 mile, walking trail that goes by my goats, and then it goes by like a creek, and it's like picture perfect. And I remember walking because there was nothing else to do and thinking, I don't get to do any of this. Like this is backwards. And when I would walk, I would listen to a podcast, which is the Private Practice Startup. And so I'm really not trying to plug anything, but I'm just being honest. I would listen to it. I remember thinking, I don't want to do this anymore, but I can't get out just quite yet. So I wanted to I was really drawn to this thought of find successful people doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found podcasts of people. I started researching therapists who had thriving practices. And I just started, really, I had to stop worrying about what everybody thought because I knew I wanted to get out, but it was a pandemic. So I had to bide my time, and I wanted to step with tact and care. So I started, in the off time, not getting to do other things because we were in lockdown. I started listening to the podcast. And I started making my exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt I wanted to do my clients well, who I was currently working with. And, but I also wanted to game plan because I was also coming off of, 4 years earlier, not having the best experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you knew you needed to be strategic about it this go around.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yes. So, I started, kind of making my game plan and honestly starting to save money or direct money into funds of investing in myself as a private practice therapist. So, because I also realized, why would I recreate the wheel? That's where it was hard for me to ask others for help. But then I was like, why? If you find successful, happy people, they typically want to share information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I just found those people. I can't say everyone I connected with was that, but there's so many out there. So it was really my fear and my self-limiting beliefs that were keeping me from making connections. Mm-hmm. So I just made a list of people. Hey, they look successful. I'm going to call them.
I love it. I just love that you're sharing this story with us. And it's so cool to hear how you dipped your toes in the water in private practice in the beginning. You didn't have a system or strategy, really. You were trying to figure it out on your own and realized with 3 young kids at home, this is just not going to work at this point in time. And some people could have been turned off from that for life, but you didn't allow that experience to close the door permanently for you. You were able to realize, okay, what didn't work for you the first time around? What do you need to have in place when you decide that you want to step into private practice again, but to be more strategic and intentional about it and have the supports in place so that you could have a successful experience that was going to be in more of an alignment with what you wanted your life to look like, so that you could reclaim your joy, reclaim your time with your family and the farm, and, to have the time and freedom to, just create the life that you desire. And it's neat to hear that, as the world is falling apart, and we all were struggling so much in our own ways during the pandemic, that gave you an opportunity to slow down and to get in touch with yourself again, to have the time and space to do that, so you could have the clarity to make these major changes. And that we were one of the voices in your ear as you're walking around the farm. Yeah. It's just so cool to hear. Katie and I often joke about how, with podcasting, when you're together having a conversation like this with a guest, it's one thing sometimes when we're podcasting, we wonder, how many people are we really reaching and resonating with? And we see the download numbers and whatnot, so we know that we're being heard. But it's just interesting to see how, we were a part of the resource for you. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Kim, I know that you're listening here and you've done a lot of amazing work with Katie. So what are your thoughts? What do you have questions about at this point?
So I'm just always struck by how the story is so relatable. Your story, right, Katie? The the resetting, the coming back to, the having to shift your mindset around things and how you're going to approach it, finding the supports. So I would say, tell us about your practice now, right? So we talked about how you got there. So tell us, from then when you decided, okay, I'm going to do this, to now.
Yes. And so that's a good question. To answer that, I'm going to tell a Dan Green story, which is my dad. He starts answering a question with a long story, but I'll keep it brief. But I had to look at how I practiced before as a therapist, of molding myself to what I thought the client wanted me to be, or what I thought the client needed me to be, and then tried to meet everybody's needs. And so, which I kind of in a way had to do, seeing, anywhere from 25 to 40 clients a week. So what I stepped back is I took time to really lean in and figure out, who am I as a person? Because who am I? What space suits me? And then what kind of therapy is my niche? Instead of being certified in everything, I really leaned in and wanted to find the therapy that livens me. Because I've had therapy, which I suggest every therapist, dip their toe in, but therapists that come in and seem worn out, not really connected with what I'm saying, eating their breakfast, looking on their phone. And so I wanted to be engaged. I wanted to be filled up so that I could enter in, and it was about that client. And so that is my story of saying I landed with, I'm currently a registered play therapist supervisor, and I love incorporating expressive arts and play. I'm looking around my office right now. It's 900 square feet. So literally I have kids that can run during a session, which is so vital. It's 900 square feet with a 300 square feet lobby, and it's just me. I have a punching bag, a tent, 2 sand trays, lots of sand tray figures behind me. And I work to incorporate play, art, expression into the EMDR process. So I really enjoy helping people through trauma, but it could also, as many people know, EMDR isn't just for PTSD. So I get to ask people to build an image in the sand, and then we use that as the image for reprocessing. And it is so engaging for my clients. And then honestly, which is okay to say, for me as the therapist. And I think that's why they keep coming back. I know, because we're doing good work collaboratively. And so I really love the chance to engage with them and not just sit there and feel like all I can do is nod my head because I'm packed into this tiny room and I have no toys. So this space is just as much for me as it is for my clients. So I see all ages. I'm moving into adding a coaching as more of an established practice, and we're expanding to a group practice right now as well. So for therapists, and then also the coaching side as well.
I got to work with you as you were moving into that space. It's so I'm beaming because I got to see it evolve. And it's so cool. And I just want to point out something you said that I think is so important. And I think a lot of therapists miss out on, and they don't understand, because I think we see oh my gosh, being selective, I'm cutting out people, I'm discriminating. I'm turning away money. Right. But no, that being overworked, trying to cram everything and everybody in, not having any space, not having any time, it shows up in the work. It shows up in the clinical work. And that's not serving anybody. So you're actually doing your clients more of a service when you are working in a way that feels genuine for you, authentic for you, is exciting to you, because that translates into the clinical work. So I love that you brought that up, because I think people miss that and really discount that.
Yeah. And, thanks for saying that. And it is hard at times when I know there's such a great need out there, but I can't meet it all. And so I really wanted to hone in and kind of see the therapy I provide, as an experience and something that you invest in. And so, cause I have raised my prices to above the norm, and, but also it's so engaging for the client that it doesn't need as many sessions. And so people are getting in and getting out and finding success.
I love to hear that. Yes. And without you having to see, the large amount of caseload that you did before that was so detrimental to your mind, body, spirit, the whole bit. And so about how many people do you see on your caseload per week now? Just curious.
It's funny. You caught me in kind of a big, I'm in leveling up again, like with you guys and Dr. Kim. I kind of got to a level where I am now. And I was seeing no more than 24 clients a week. But now, as I'm hiring therapists and working, I'm writing a book, and also I don't do things small. I'm just one of those people, like, I like big things. I feel drawn to big things, but I'm also adding speaking engagements and retreats. So I am lowering my caseload to 12 slots a week. And then, working with the therapist and growing them. Cause in the therapy world, there's not many voices out there of successful practice owners and successful therapists, who are giving people permission to do the things I just described, to consider yourself, to be, bring yourself into a session, but also bring yourself into a session whole, healed, and rejuvenated. Yes. And so, just growing a practice that, I want my therapists that I employ and the coaches I employ to be rejuvenated, like, take care of yourself. I need you to come to work refreshed. And so, I am lowering my caseload right now to about 12. I cannot go more than 15. I really enjoy therapy, but I'm scaling back so that I can scale up on the business side of the. You
have to do that. You've got to do that in order to scale up. I love hearing about how you're talking about the culture, right, of your group practice. Yeah. You're expanding from a solo practitioner with a high demand, and you're realizing the demand is there. So let's expand and bring on these other clinicians so that you could step into a different role of the business and be able to do other types of things that bring you joy, like the speaking engagements and writing a book and other facets of the business that you also, while still keeping a caseload that is an ideal amount. Because if you're seeing full-time caseload, anything over 15 is full-time in private practice in my eyes. Yeah. And it's great that you've been able to raise your prices so that you can still continue to make that income while making an impact and growing your team and all of that. It's just fantastic.
Kind of laughing. I remember, a few of my coaching sessions being like, why are you not raising? Not like demanding, but just really being honest about, you're providing a good service, Katie. And honestly, when I did raise my prices, my wait list went through the roof. There was something about people are willing to pay a pretty nice fee to have a refreshed therapist. So yes, it's worked. It's worked. I really enjoyed Kim confronting me about my fears in such a beautiful way. I can't speak enough about it. So
Kim, what do you remember about your work with Katie as you all work through some of those mindset blocks, and what stands out to you as you're hearing, where she is today?
So it's so interesting. Like, when you were like, I'm providing a good service, the coach in me kicked in and was like, what are you talking about? It's more than good, right? It is. Yeah. Like you said earlier, your own words, I'm providing an experience, right? Like, they're not just coming in and I'm talking, like, yes, I'm listening to them, but I'm also giving an experience. I'm giving them tools. I'm giving them a way to express themselves that they probably haven't had anywhere else in their life. I'm giving them a space to express themselves, right? Like what you're doing is transformative.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is a good time to pause and take our break for our sponsor, and then we'll continue to dive in.
Sounds good.
Your time is your money, so why waste it checking to see if your next appointment has arrived? Instead, gain the freedom to focus on your most important tasks with the Receptionist for iPad. This episode is sponsored by the Receptionist for iPad, the highest rated digital check-in software for therapy offices and behavioral health clinics. Thousands of private practices use the Receptionist for iPad to discreetly check in clients, and after each client has checked in, the system sends practitioners an instant notification. No more poking your head down the hallway to see if your next appointment has arrived. Go to receptionist.com/PPS, as in private practice startup, to start your 14-day free trial of the Receptionist for iPad today. Make sure to sign up on our unique page and you'll get your first month of the software free when you become a customer. Enjoy! Hey there, Startup Nation. Want to take your private practice to the next level? Check out Mental Health Marketing, a professional digital creative marketing agency designed just for mental health clinicians. From custom logos to professional websites and even a unique referral network building program, they've got you covered. They offer clinician-centric marketing strategies tailored to your practice's annual revenue, so it's always affordable. Book your initial consultation through mentalhealthmarketing.com and get a free 1-hour call when you mention the private practice startup. That's mentalhealthmarketing.com. You won't want to miss this.
So what you're providing is transformative. You know, it's more than just good. And I think sometimes as therapists, we devalue ourselves when it comes to that. But also, we're so burnt out that we don't provide an experience. Right. So like,
yes,
one of the things I really noticed and admired and enjoyed about working with you, Kati, is that you acknowledged your challenges, you acknowledged your obstacles, you were able to kind of see like, oh yes. But you are also very real. This is hard. I don't know. I'm not there yet.
Yes.
I'll give it a try. I'll see what this feels like. But okay, this feels like too much. Let me step back and take this step. Right. So it's always like, I don't know, you were always up to the challenge. You were always ready to do the work, but you were also, I think, very honest with me and yourself about where was it like really hard? Where was it like, I'm not sure about this. And so maybe it doesn't look like this right now. Maybe it's this, you know? And
if I could say something to that, Dr. Kim, is the thing that has made me successful this time that I really wish I would have had last time is I'm not doing it alone. Again, if you're doing the marketing course, which I would highly suggest, add the coaching on, and then even add more coaching on, because the thing that has made me able to do the high price range and have a wait list at that price range is the mindset. Like having someone walk me through and walk with me as I work on my mindset. Because looking back, my mindset was what made it not successful before. It wasn't the 3 kids or my situation. It was the way I thought about it, and honestly worrying about what everyone else was going to think about it, worrying about what my clients were going to think about it, family and friends that weren't supportive, just even like worrying, like I have to go to a bank and ask them for, a business line of credit, what are they going to think? They're going to think great. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm glad I didn't do this time alone.
What would you say is, what stands out to you that you've learned about yourself as you've gone through this process? You've really worked on a lot of the mindset stuff. You've been very strategic in your strategy. You've got a community around you. What have you learned about yourself?
Oh, I'm a huge people pleaser. Huge people pleaser. Like people pleaser to the point of like someone on the road I don't even know, And so it hit me by trying to please everyone. I was pleasing no one. And then being honest about where is that coming from? and then engaging with coaches and engaging with, re-engaging in my own therapist, finding a therapist that gave me an experience of like, because running a business, I will tell you what, in a private practice that's thriving, it will bring out your personal issues. So,
that's true.
Just really leaning into why am I people pleasing, and being honest that it's serving no one, and that it's okay to please myself, in the ways of, I want to garden in the morning. I like petting my goats before work. And so if I'm hustling off to work at 8 a.m. after coming home at 9 p.m., it's not going to happen. And I'm a better therapist when I pet my goats. I just am.
I love it. I love it.
So, yeah.
You have your own animal therapy in the morning before you go in, and
I do. And I recently got a Labradoodle to try and be a therapy dog. Aww. And he still will, but he loves the goats too, and he doesn't want to come to work with me. So
that's great.
It's not working out so well quite yet.
Kim, as you're here with Kati and myself, what stands out to you about our conversation here today and Kati's growth and where she is now?
I think what stands out to me is just all the principles I think we talk about in the e-course and the coaching program. But I think also like there's a lot of information on social media now, a lot of people putting out, oh, this is how you do a successful practice. This is how you do a successful business. And some of it feels so far off from, I think, what we're taught. And so like, Kati, just listening to you, it's like, I'm just like, yep. Even like from okay, sometimes you need to reset and readjust, and that's fine. Not right now is not ever. Right. Also, and then finding confidence in yourself to come back. Taking time for your life. I say this a lot, and it probably feels very like, I don't know, like everybody's saying it, but like you're proof, right? Taking time for your life so that you can be present for your business. Like your business should be in service to your life and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you seeing the growth, you seeing the proof of that in your own life.
Yes. That's when it's taken off. Yeah. This last year. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of wrapped up, I think, coaching in this spring, and it is just to the point where I can't keep up. I'm hiring a virtual assistant, a manager. Like it works. So I think the thing that would keep someone from finding it is fear, to be honest, fear in a limiting mindset.
Mm-hmm. Kati, for everybody who's listening to your episode here today, we may have some people who have considered joining our private practice marketing e-course and the coaching program, or working with another program coach, mentor, to get that really important guidance. What would you say to them based on your own experience, if they're kind of on the fence about whether to take the leap or not?
That's a good question. And so I think sometimes when people are starting out or wanting to invest in themselves, they see is the price and the time. And I have started to shift for me, I started saving money, and quite honestly, I had a working line of credit, and because I felt like it was an investment, because I knew if I didn't have outlines and tools, it was going to be like last time. I was going to get overwhelmed and end up feeling like I did when I was in private practice or even community mental health. And so what I loved about the course was the paperwork help. I loved having everything so outlined. I loved how it was so strategic with, like, we're talking about this topic, and then you had, from what I remember, a podcast that helped support it. And so even through the podcast or the education pieces, the videos in it, I found other people that I could kind of listen to and learn from. But what I decided to do, and what I liked doing this, was I streamlined, because there are so many courses and so many experts, and that's great. But I liked this one because it had it all there, with paperwork, with learning, with mindset challenges, and then also the coach. I think it would, I don't want to say this wrong, but you got to get the coaching, like the added coaching package, in my opinion, because that I had the information, but the coaching with Dr. Kim was that edge that pushed. It was almost like with her, I led all the learning and she pushed me out of the baby bird nest. You know what I mean? Like to do the thing. And it was exactly what I needed. So
it's so
no
helpful
regrets.
for the accountability piece as you're implementing everything that you learn with the building blocks every step along the way. So to have that accountability is key. Yeah.
Yes. And the course was well designed, and it was well designed with the coaching. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your feedback and for sharing that encouragement for Startup Nation. What do you want our audience to take away from your message today?
Please consider yourself entering the session. Like, please, I know it sounds so silly, like your self-care is important, but it is. Why are you doing it? If you're not coming into a session joyful, why are you doing it? And why aren't you fixing it? And that's where that could lead you to coaching, getting some coaching with someone and or therapy. In my case, I did both. But you don't have to sacrifice your health, your joy, your well-being to meet your clients' needs. You can be whole and have successful clients.
Absolutely.
It's possible.
It's absolutely. Yes. What an important message.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here. Dr. Kim, thank you for being here with us as well. It's so great to hear about the amazing work that you both did together. And Kati, we look forward to hearing about how your group practice goes and the speaking engagements and everything else that you're adding to your repertoire. So thank you again for being here. Startup Nation, we hope you enjoyed our episode today. And we want you to stick around for next week's episode where we interview Amanda Gergel. Susan Block and I interviewed Amanda on her success story. So you'll be able to hear all about that next week. And in the meantime, we want to encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review our show. We always love hearing feedback from you because we really try to create content that meets your needs along the building and growing journey in private practice. And if there's a topic that we haven't had yet, please let us know. Or if you think you'd love to be a guest too, reach out. We're always open to it. And in the meantime, before we see you next week, stay inspired. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.